Hi, guys, and welcome back for another episode of Wake Up CX. This week, the topic I would like to look at is managing expectations. So, this is still part of the series about how we reduce demand to the contact center, but at the same time, it applies to any field, whether it's your customer service, whether it's sales, whether it's physical, no matter what medium you're using, whether it's over the phone, email, message in a bottle, whatever method you're using, managing your customer experience is really important. Now, when we look at this, one of the things that I want to consider is the expectation of the customer. So, the contact center and customer service industry has such a bad reputation around the world that our customers are automatically expecting less than perfect. So if we say on a scale of 1 to 10, our customers reach out with the expectation of hitting a 5 for their service. Anything above that, they consider to be really good. Anything below that, they're disappointed. So if you were to consider the things that can, affect where you land on that scale, and the first thing that you'll probably find is contact centers will tend to focus on things like tone, smiling while you speak because it comes through in your voice, sitting up straight, like shoulders back. It presents your voice a little bit clearer. They will discuss these sort of things with you, the types of words you can use, having a positive intonation in your words, making things sound nice and clear. But managing expectations is far superior to anything. Because if your customer comes on with the expectation of a level 5 service across the board, and then your staff are trying to be really good and promising them the world, you are pushing that customer's expectation from a 5 to a 10. And the moment you fail to deliver, even if you hit an 8 out of 10, if you raised your customer's expectations to a 10, they're now going to be disappointed with that 8. Whereas if you kept the expectation around the 5, but then delivered the 8, they're going to be overjoyed. Now, I'm not saying don't strive to give great service and don't try and raise expectations, but just be very careful about what you can physically deliver. So, if we take contact centers, for instance, typically the training and the onboarding process is quite insular. You look at your department, what you can do, what is in your control. And then you might have a little bit saying, if you get a query for this, you put it over here, and they might give you some basic time frames. You'll hear back within 5 working days, and that's fine. If you give this information to your customers and you stick to that, that's all well and good if it's maintained, because you provide the time frame. Your customers then has a clear expectation of the outcome and the time frame for achieving it, and then if the timelines hit, everything's great, customers happy. However, if you don't have a strong understanding of the other departments and you set a time frame that's wrong, say for example, you say you'll hear back within 5 working days, but in actuality it's 10 working days. Your customer's expectation was set, and then you destroy it straight away. You're not going to fix that by apologizing. Well, you can, but it puts it on a negative tone for the conversation. So having a better understanding of everything outside of your purview as well as within is key. And you do this by having open lines of communication between different departments. You need to know what the current timeframes are. Now, if we're talking about pushing that expectation from a level 5 to a level 10, if your standard process stays there is a 5 working day turnaround time. But if you've got these clear lines of communication and you understand that right now that department's doing really well and their work is getting turned around within 48 hours, you can turn around and say, look, you should expect to hear back within 5 working days. However, based on the current circumstances, we'll aim to get that back to you within 48. And that just lifts your customer's expectation that little bit more. And when you hit it, it's brilliant because you've pushed the bar up past the 5, closer to say the 8 or the 9, and then you nail it. That's great. And that's what's key. It's managing those expectations. So there's two parts to this. So you've got your training, your onboarding, and maintaining that level, which if you speak to someone like Jackie Turner, who's a pro on training, she would be able to show you all the different techniques and tools to how to effectively train your staff and keep those skill sets developing, but also how important it is to keep the communication up between departments. And there are so many different ways you can do this with wallboards, chats throughout the day, little internal communications, but you got to make sure that it's clear and concise because you don't want to overload people, because if there's too much information coming in, they're not going to retain any of it. So you've got to make sure you come up with a process and a strategy in place to keep everyone informed but not inundated. So that's part one. And then the second part, which is something that we all need to work towards, is to start raising the expectation of the customer service industry. So many of you will know Martin Teasdale. He's got a great TL community that's focused on this. And one of the big topics that he's always looking at is how people perceive the contact center industry, both from an experience perspective, so as a customer, but also how people perceive it as a career path, as somewhere you can develop and grow and build your career. So again, these are just some of the things we can do, and it's all about managing expectations. I'd love to see what you guys think, and if you've got any tips and tricks for how you can manage expectations, whatever the scenario. Again, keep them coming in the comments. Drop me a DM. We'll have a chat. I look forward to hearing your thoughts, and I'll see you again next week. And again, we're getting close to that 10th episode, so please find me over some tips. I want to do something special. So thank you, and you have a good weekend. Bye now.